So we're going to do a PowerPoint on note-taking, and this is going to be the quick version for you. There is a longer version of this video in which I'm talking for 30 minutes about this stuff, but this is going to be the brief version. So you need to come prepared. Have all your stuff to note take: pen, pencil, eraser, paper, etc. Don't be that person that's always borrowing. You want to be positive. So you should definitely come with a positive attitude. This one is the most important one. Why, I might ask? Because if you have a positive attitude, it primes your brain to learn because you're excited about what you're going to do, which means your brain thinks this must be important. If you come with a negative attitude, it's the opposite. Your brain assumes this isn't important, and it makes it harder for you to study and learn. You should have already done your reading and have your questions from the reading or your homework ready to go. And you should sit where you can see or hear clearly. That's different for everybody because we all have different preferences, and some of us need to sit in a certain place to see or to pay attention. You have to pay attention, which is like a no duh, but because you can't take notes on something you don't hear. So try to clear your mind and stay focused. Participating in discussions really helps with this, by the way. Okay, there are 5 note-taking styles we're going over today. These are the ones you're going to use for your assignment if you have a note-taking assignment in this class. It'll be outline, Cornell, concept map, paragraph, and picture diagram. These are 5 different note-taking styles that will work in a different number of situations. They each lend themselves to different note-taking situations, but together they are amazing. So our first one is the Cornell method. And many people have used this before. If you haven't, don't even stress. So you divide your paper into 3 sections. There's a natural line here on your paper. You're going to use that. This is going to be your Q column. This will be your note-taking area. And then the last 5 lines will be your summary area. There should be a summary on every single page. The summary is 1 sentence or 2 sentences that summarizes the entire page. So in the Q column, you'll put things like not definitions, but key terms, questions, page numbers, where you might find the information. Over here, you would answer the question, define the key term, put what's on the page number. You can ask a question on this side, answer the question on this side. The key is, or what they say to do, is to fill out just the note-taking part first and then go back and fill in this stuff. But to be fair, I've never done it that way, and I don't expect you to. So you can go ahead and write the question, the key term, or the page number over here. Or it could be a person's name and then what they did, something like that. Every page should have a summary. So please note that. Okay, next we have, I feel like I skipped one. Yeah, I did. So we have outline method. So the outline method has, we have Roman numerals here, but the Roman numerals are not as important as this concept. So with outline method, the most important information needs to be all the way to the left-hand side of the page. The stuff that's more on this side of the page is more important stuff. Things that are indented more, like these A and B, are less important. So the most important concept on this page is note-taking. The next most important concepts are come prepared and note-taking styles. Then we have 3 sub ideas that are going to be the least important things. That's the different types of note-taking styles. I could add a number 2 to this and talk about note identifiers, which I will be talking at the end. Note identifiers are also important, and I will go over them at the end of this video. Okay, so next we have the concept map method. This method links things by how they are related, and you'll see the arrows. And the arrows can go both ways. You can connect ideas any way you want, but the most important concept about this is the bigger the bubble, the more important the concept. The smaller the bubble, the less important the concept. So on this page, the most important concepts are American imperialism, procure resources or raw materials, and then those are the 2 biggest concepts. And then we have some other concepts like competitors' enemies, securing trade routes, international security, the white man's burden. So we have some other concepts that are bigger, but you can tell how the concepts are all related. This works really well for things like history. Okay, the paragraph method. So the important thing you need to know about this one is you're going to have to be a fast writer to do well at this. But if you're a visual verbal learner from the DVC Learning Style Inventory, which you will be taking in my class, you might want to try this one because this is for visual verbal learners. So visual verbal learners like to see text. Walls of text do not intimidate them, But the important part is every time a new concept is introduced, you'll write a new paragraph. So you write a paragraph, then when the teacher gets to the next concept, you'll start on the next paragraph. Sometimes I like to skip lines in between paragraphs. I can kind of clearly see where one paragraph began and where one ends. But the key is that you're writing down a summary of the notes as the teacher goes. You cannot write every single thing the teacher says, or you will probably have your fingers fall off by the end of the note-taking session. The picture/diagram method is kind of a different situation. In this note-taking style, you draw things that are loosely related to what the teacher is talking about. So this example is for a lecture on physics and adventures in probability. It's okay to use some words for sure, but we see a tribot here. I don't know what ish tribot means, but the problem is with note-taking styles like this with pictures and diagrams is you might be the only person that would be able to decipher what your notes mean at the end. But honestly, who cares? If it works for you, it works for you. The way it works is by drawing while you're listening. You're keeping your brain and your hand busy by drawing something that's related to what you're listening to. This will help solidify what is being said to you in the lecture in your brain as important because you're literally drawing it while they're speaking about it, which means your brain is getting double input about the same concept. And that means that your brain is more likely to remember that information later. So later, when you take a look at your drawing and you see this spiral, you will remember exactly what your professor was saying when you were drawing the spiral. That is the way that this note-taking style works, by pairing a drawing in time with auditory or verbal information. So this would work well for somebody who is an auditory learner, for someone who is a visual, non-verbal learner as well. This may also work for tactile kinesthetic learners, especially those that have ADHD, because it keeps you busy. It keeps part of your brain busy while you're learning, which is what you need to stay focused. Okay, using abbreviations. So I don't use this for important. I actually use a star, but I think that Mac to PC has changed this icon over the years, and I haven't been able to change it back. So I always abbreviate government with GOV or GBT. I put a question mark in my notes next to things I don't understand, things I like and want to return to, maybe do more research on, or smiley faces. Stars are things that are important that are going to be on the test, and I write with a W/, and of course you can make up your own. I always use the psi, the Greek letter psi, for psychology instead of writing the whole word out. It's up to you what you want to do or how you want to do it. But using abbreviations is important. You don't want your hand to fall off. You only want to record the important things. So some people think they need to take notes on everything. But if the teacher starts launching into a story about how her cousin had a similar situation happen that relates to the material, you do not need to write down the information about the cousin, right? You just need to write the key information. And sometimes if you're not sure, you can raise your hand and say, hey, could you repeat the part where you said this? Because I'm wondering if that's going to be on the test and I need to put it in my notes. If you explicitly ask the teacher, a lot of times they'll tell you exactly what you need to write down. Listen for clues like repetition. So when a teacher keeps saying something over and over again, it means it's important. So listen and write that in your notes. When instructors emphasize what's important with the tone of their voice, a lot of times they get a little louder when they say something that's important, or they'll slow down significantly to emphasize what it is. And if you hear that happening, definitely write that down. Things that are repeated over and over again and things the professor are emotional about are things that are probably going to be on the test. So for example, I had a teacher who was really into sudden infant death syndrome, which is SIDS. And she was a researcher. That was her main area of research. So we all knew that on the test, there was going to be questions about this because this was her area of specialty and she talked about it a lot in class. So we knew we should take notes on that. Okay, you want to listen for transitions because your teacher will tell you, okay, so we're moving on to the next section. That's when you need to start a new topic in your notes. Or to summarize, we're going to review what we just did. And they go over it. That's when you check your notes and make sure you've got everything in there that relates to that concept. Okay, you want to review your notes within 24 hours. So this is actually, if you want to get A's, this is the key. This is the missing link in your studying. Okay, so reviewing within 24 hours of taking the notes. So you take the notes, you put the notes in your folder. The next day, you review the notes. That's your first notes for your first class. You review with the intent to memorize the notes. So you're trying to memorize the entire pages of notes that you took from day one. So you took notes on Tuesday. On Wednesday, you're memorizing those notes. Then you take notes on Thursday. You take a second set of notes, you bring them home. The next day, within 24 hours, you go back to the first set of notes and you review that set again with the goal is to memorize the whole page of notes. Then you add your page 2 notes from the second lecture and you start trying to memorize those. Every day you approach all of your notes from every class and spend about 15 minutes per class reviewing notes. This will actually save you so much study time in the future because you'll be studying every single day over time, which is way better than studying 6 hours the night before the test or cramming, which is what most people do. So a really good way to memorize your notes is to try to talk to the other people about them. So maybe sit your cat down and tell your cat everything that's on your notes, or quiz yourself, or have someone else quiz you. You want to review every single day until your exam. So from the beginning of the term all the way to your midterm, you should be reviewing your notes for the class every single day and adding in those new sets of notes at the end of your study. So what happens over time is by the time you get to the end of the semester or the midterm, you already know the notes from the very beginning because you've studied them every day. And you'll notice that your brain works best by repeating things over time. So if you see something every single day for a week, you're more likely to remember it than if you just saw it for 2 hours the day before. Okay? So you'll fix or revise notes. Sometimes like rewriting your notes more neatly will help you to memorize them. You want to rehearse with the intent to memorize notes. And I think that that's an issue that a lot of students, they just don't take it seriously with their study, is memorizing their notes and even taking notes. So take notes, memorize your notes. Okay, so that's the end of this. However, I do want to go over note identifiers. And so I'm going to go into Canvas. So I'm in here in Canvas, but I'm just going to go backwards in time here a little bit here. Let's go to modules. I'm going to go to modules. I want to look up the note identifiers before this video closes out. So we're in week 4 here. Here's the section on note identifiers. These need to be on every single page of your notes, whether you're taking them in my class or someone else's class. This helps you stay organized if you're not organized. And if you are organized, you'll probably appreciate this because it will give your notes more organization. So your name should go on every single page of notes. The date that you took the note. This is important because if your notes get mixed up, then you can be able to put them back in the correct order. The class or instructor's name, because if you leave your notes somewhere accidentally, people will know to return them to that instructor. You should add page numbers to your notes. So if you have more than one page, you should have page 1, page 2, page 3 on all of your notes, because if you have the date, the professor, your name, and page numbers, you'll be able to put your notes back together even if they get all messed up. You should also have the main topic at the top of each page because that will help jog your memory when you're trying to memorize notes, what's on each page. And by the way, if you're using Cornell, the summaries are really important for the memorization process. They really, really help. So again, these should be on every single page of your notes. So that's my lecture, my brief lecture on note-taking. But please, if you want to see actual written examples of what I'm looking for the notes, please watch my longer video in which I do a full instructional tutorial on how to do each set of notes. Okay, thank you so much and have a wonderful, wonderful day, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.